Welcome to MyBookie. You're ready to create an account and start making money, and we're here to help. And remember, you can get a bonus of up to $1,000 on your first deposit. Now you're ready to bet. Just go to mybookie.ag, visit the sportsbook, click on your bet, and input the amount you want to risk or win in the bet slip. Yes, it's that easy. Just remember, at MyBookie, you play, you win, you get paid.
Change your game with the all-new Pro Rock Hockey Stick, a Canadian company providing a top-of-the-line twig at an affordable price. Pro Rock sticks are extremely lightweight, balanced, and provide the perfect kick point. Get your fully customized stick today at ProRock.com. Play like a Pro Rock.
What is happening today, everybody? Welcome to Glenn's Dynamic Sports Corner on 12 Ounce Sports. I am your host, Glenn Kaplan. Welcome to Berlin, Baltimore, Maryland, which is home of the Baltimore Orioles and the Baltimore Ravens. Who's excited for today's show? And I hope you all had a wonderful weekend. And I could not believe that it is snowing outside. I woke up this morning and I saw snow. I'm like, it's snowing outside, it's raining, I can't wait for winter to go away. But I have breaking news on this 147th show today. According to Larry Brooks, the New York Rangers beat writer Artemi Panarin leave of absence from the New York Rangers in the aftermath of political hit piece against him from Russia, alleging that he beat up an 18-year-old girl in Russia in 2011. Also, retribution was feared after Panarin's Instagram post on January 21st, in support of opposition Haider Alexei Navalny with... Well, let's just say anyways, Panarin's could potentially be in a boatload of trouble, and I should have wrote that more legibly. That's my fault on my part. So anyhow, in anyways, Artemi Panarin could be in big-time trouble for the New York Rangers. And he may not even see the National Hockey League again with all the political antics what's going on. It already happened with Tony DeAngelo once, and now they're on the second scene again. And it seems like the New York Rangers can't seem to get out of their own way now, can they? Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable that had to happen, and I had to start off the show this way, in that kind of sour note. But let me get off to the sour note here, and let's get into the good vibe. So my special announcement to you all, I should have posted it on my thing, but Michael Carvallis did post it on his, and he shared it on his show yesterday, that, ladies and gentlemen, I have a special announcement to make before my show starts to begin here today. If you love listening to my shows, I will be on air one extra day a week starting on Tuesdays beginning March 2nd. It won't be just my show, but I'll be co-hosting with Michael Carvallis of Mike Said It First on Tuesdays at 11 a.m. Eastern Time starting on March 2nd. The show will be called Mike X Glenn. Don't worry though, folks. My Mondays and Thursdays show isn't going anywhere either. And I don't mind doing an extra show during the week. If you love my show so much, then you don't want to miss out the show that I have with Michael Carvallis starting next Tuesday, March 2nd. And I'll have the camera up for you by then. It may not be for my shows, but it will definitely be for his shows for sure. maybe one of these days for my shows as well, you'll get to see my beautiful face. One of these days, I guess you'll get to. And this was a big shout out to JB Beck and Cody Jensen and the rest of whoever else put out this idea for the 12-ounce sports team. What a wonderful job. Cody will be working on the logo. I cannot wait to see it. And I've been a whole entire slacker when it comes to my show. I'll say it without hesitation. I ain't going to lie to my audience about it. I got to get to Fiverr and find my own logo for my own show. Not talking about for the show that's happening, new show that's happening next week. But don't worry, if you love craziness and chaos and all sports craziness, then you want to check out Mike Time's Gun starting next Tuesday. Okay, now let's get next into the actual sports segments here. Let's start with, oh yes, as I wanted to start off with my show today with Carson Wentz. Because on Thursday's show, I ended with the breaking news of Carson Wentz. And I would like to say hello back to an old friend of mine today. Right here in this trash bag that I have sitting right next to me. I decided to put the Eagles hat right in it. Just to remind you all of how trash the Philadelphia Eagles are. It's my daily and glorious reminder of how bad the Philadelphia Eagles franchise has become. And I couldn't be more happy and more be smiled about it as a New York Giants fan myself. You know, when the Eagles fans, they were telling the New York Giants fans, you should have won more games to begin with, 6-10, chirp, chirp, chirp. And then the Eagles fans said, it's all about the 6th overall pick. You know the old saying, the karma's the B word? You know what they say? The song by Justin Timberlake. What goes around comes around. Yes, yes, yes. What goes around comes around, baby. And that's just what your franchise deserves. You get rid of Carson Wentz. Jalen Hurts doesn't even get to play in the final game for half of the time. And it's absolutely glorious and luxurious. And I'm telling you this right now, ladies and gentlemen. The Eagles will be one of the worst teams in the NFL next season. And I'm all here sitting in popcorn, just waiting for it to happen. And I'm going to be extremely thrilled and excited when it does happen. The Colts are the winners here. Wentz gets a fresh start. The Eagles want to draft a quarterback at number 6, and what if he turns out to be a bust? What is wrong with General Manager Howie Roseman? That guy's got a power struggle like no other with Jeffrey Lurie, and I don't even want to know what photos they have of each other. Because I guarantee you there's some dirty stuff inside that organization. And an Eagles fan texted me in frustration on Thursday. He wants Roseman out, and personally, how could you blame him? They are suffering from Super Bowl syndrome, just like what the New York Giants went through after they won that 2011 Super Bowl against New England Patriots. And Philadelphia Eagles also did beat the New England Patriots. The thing is that Carson Wentz is back with Frank Reich. They had their quarterback. They didn't have to give up much of anything. What, they gave up a 3rd-round pick and a 2nd-round pick? That might turn into a 1st-rounder? That's a win for the Colts. And I know Max Hellman's like it's a win for the Eagles. You get out that contract, whole 9 yards. I understand that. But Wentz is going to be fine, I think, with the Colts. I gave him his fair share of criticism with the Eagles. Please don't put him in the MVP category. No. Put him into the mid-tier. Put Carson Wentz in the mid-tier quarterback. Put him top 15. Don't put him top 10, top 5. Put him top 15, top 20. The top 15, top 20 with that defense, you might win the Super Bowl. Not saying they're going to, because you still got Kansas City Chiefs, Buffalo Sabres, and the Cleveland Browns, I think. But they're getting there, and I still think the Tennessee Titans might be a little bit better than them this morning. But I guess time's going to tell when that's going to happen. And if they do take a quarterback with the 6th pick, Trevor Lawrence and Clemson, Zach Wilson, BYU, I expect to be gone. So expect Justin Fields of Ohio State Trey Lance or North Dakota State and Mac Jones, Alabama to potentially be available to them by then. Now let's move into my next segment here. Let's get into Sidney Crosby's 1,000 career game. And I personally was not aware of it until Saturday night. And I was actually not aware of the Islanders and Penguins actually going to be on the NHL Network again on Saturday night. I knew it was going to be on Thursday. Did not know it was going to be on Saturday. I just turned on the NHL Network. I was just expecting Toronto Maple Leafs Montreal Canadiens to be on television again. But no, they actually showed an American game for once. I guess you got to spread the love to all NHL teams, even if they're not from Canada, right? So now let's go into my 1,000 game segment here with Sidney Crosby. So, Crosby, he gets a stick. Evgeny Malkin, Chris Letang, everybody else, they give him all video tributes before the game. And he's the first player in franchise history to get to 1,000 career games in the entire National Hockey League. For that franchise, for the Pittsburgh Penguins. There are 6 franchises that have not had a player yet reach 1,000 games playing for them. What I meant by that is Crosby's played all 1,000 games with the Pittsburgh Penguins. That's what I mean in one jersey. Crosby, the RB Hartzell of the Pittsburgh Penguins, he's just been an idolized figure in the city of Pittsburgh forever time. Brett Keisel, former defensive lineman of the Pittsburgh Steelers, he said his kids play hockey because of him, because of Sidney Crosby, and then you got his parents who couldn't be there, his sister who couldn't be there, but his girlfriend was there. It was unfortunate that there weren't fans in the buildings, but he's done a lot of things with grace and class throughout his professional career. That's the way Sidney Crosby has been. We don't know what the future holds in Pittsburgh here. But we know they're going to make at least to try and make another Stanley Cup run. Evgeny Malkin's like more cups, more titles. Well, that's the goal, obviously, but it's so hard to win. And I just thought everything about the ceremony was great. You know, Phil Kessel on the video tribute, Steven Stamkos and Alex Ovechkin. And, Braden Shen, the ex-Flyer. And of course he has to mention something fighting about Crosby, and what else do you expect from a Philadelphia Flyers guy? Just learn some stuff from the Washington Capitals, being classy and stuff, and you'll be in respect, and you'll be fine. As I said on my Twitter, why do you think I root for the Capitals anytime they play the Flyers? For exact reasons, clownless reasons like that. That was a good game. Penguins took 4 possible points, and the Islanders got nothing from the 2-game set. So Pittsburgh in that 3-2 win on the special 1,000 career game for Sidney Crosby. Chris Letang scored a game-winning goal at the 13:34 mark in the third period, assisted by Sidney Crosby and Jake Gunsel. Crosby had 2 assists on the night. Pittsburgh is starting to find its game, and what did I say? I knew the offense would be there, defense is going to be shaky, but the goalie has to make a stop every now and then. And Tristan Jarry, I'll get to him in just a little bit, has played much better ever since Ron Extall and Brian Burke, have been in the Pittsburgh front office. So that's a key positive here. Let's keep that in mind. So what other goal scoring was in this game? Let's see here. First period, there was actually nothing in the first period. Very smooth, I like the sound of the skates. The skating was tremendous. The puck movement, tape to tape, was phenomenal. It's very smooth. You love those kind of hockey games. So, second period goals. Chris Letang, 12:35 mark on a power play. Assisted by Evgeny Malkin and Sidney Crosby, the trio trifecta. New York Islanders, Jordan Eberle, assisted by Anthony Beauvillier, with 4:32 remaining in the second period. Third period goals. New York Islanders, Brock Nelson, 53 seconds into the third period mark as well here, assisted by Scott Mayfield, while Nelson has scored in 2 consecutive games for the New York Islanders. My Uncle Frankie's like, but Brock Nelson's seeing ghost. And I'm like to him, well, he ain't seen any ghost. He ain't seen Andrei Vasilevsky in net against the Tampa Bay Lightning. And I'm like to him, I always like to him as a joke every now and then. I guess the Uncle Frank jinx is alive and well, I guess I always like to say to him. Every time one thing goes against this team, the opposite always seems to happen. But on a more positive note for the New York Islanders, I think they'll be just fine. I don't think there's too much in honesty to worry about. You play the Buffalo Sabres. I mean, really. You don't play a real hockey team, you'll be just fine. You'll act like tough guys where SpongeBob puffs out his chest and it becomes all muscular, and then when you have to play a team like the Pittsburgh Penguins, you're like Charmin's Ultra Soft. That's when you become soft teddy bears. And I posted those as GIFs as my Facebook and my Twitter status, and my Uncle Frank's like, haha, that's actually pretty funny and accurate. So now let's get back here and how Pittsburgh tied the game at 2. Mike Matheson at the 7:35 mark, assisted by Teddy Blucher, Sam Lafferty. Semyon Varlamov, quiet in the game. They didn't get a lot of shots on him. Only 15 saves for New York Islanders. As for Tristan Jarry, basically stole that game for the Pittsburgh Penguins. 33 saves. And they've been different ever since general manager Jim Rutherford quit on them. Now on to my next segment here. But before I get into my next segment, use promo code 12OunceSports, all caps with a positive bonus up to $1,000 for my bookie. We're live on 12-Ounce Sports, Glenn's Dynamic Sports Corner, mybookie.ag, 12OunceSportsRadio.com/Amazon, promo 12-Ounce Sports. We're live. And ladies and gentlemen, at 11:45 a.m. Eastern Time this morning, professional lacrosse player Zach Goodrich will be joining me live as a special guest on today's show. He will be talking to me about the PLL/MML merger, amongst other things lacrosse. So you do not want to go anywhere for all you lacrosse lovers for all the lacrosse lovers that love listening to the show, you do not want to go anywhere. So now into my next segment. But actually, before I get into my next segment, thank you as always, Tyler Valdez, JB Beck, Cody Jensen, Michael Corvallis, and whoever else makes and Philly Pete all these shows wonderful and spectacular for the network itself. Now let's get into the next segment with the NBA All-Star starters being named. Who should be the reserves? So the NBA announced its All-Star game starters on Thursday night on TNT. So let's go into the list. Who's the starting in the West? So it's Luka Doncic of the Dallas Mavericks, Steph Curry, the Golden State Warriors, LeBron James, Los Angeles Lakers, he's the team captain, Kawhi Leonard, Los Angeles Clippers, Nikola Jokic of the Denver Nuggets. So those are your 5 starters, and obviously LeBron's captain because they're going to be picking the teams after they announce the reserves. So here's who I think the reserves should be for the Western Conference. Donovan Mitchell, Utah Jazz, Damian Lillard, Portland Trail Blazers, Zion Williamson, New Orleans Pelicans, Brandon Ingram, New Orleans Pelicans, Paul George, Los Angeles Clippers, Ja Morant, Memphis Grizzlies, and Devin Booker, Phoenix Suns. Those should be the reserves. Damian Lillard, the Harvey Arnsel of the Portland Trail Blazers, is just on a mission and should have been a starter in the game, but no, he wasn't because he didn't get enough All-Star votes, and that's how they decide the All-Star starters. Why do you think LeBron was named the captain? Because he got the most votes in the Western Conference. That's how it works here. So, those who I think are my reserves are, you can debate me all you want who I think should be the reserves, but I guess it's pretty tough. So let's see the starters for the Eastern Conference. Kyrie Irving, the Brooklyn Nets. I don't agree with that one, but that's what the fans decided on. I guess you can't argue with fans, I guess. Bradley Beal, the Washington Wizards. It's about time he gets on the thing. He's only done things in his career with grace and class, and it's about time that he's finally on the All-Star game. It took forever, but finally it happened. Kevin Durant, Brooklyn Nets. Not a surprise, he's also the team captain for the East. Giannis Antetokounmpo, the Milwaukee Bucks, and Joel Embiid, the Philadelphia 76ers. So those are your starters for the Eastern Conference. So basically, when they do this draft, it's going to be they pick the starters first, and then they pick the reserves. So it'll be LeBron James, Team LeBron versus Kevin Durant, Team Durant. So, who should be the reserves for the Eastern Conference? Jason Tatum, Boston Celtics. Jaylen Brown, Boston Celtics. James Harden, Brooklyn Nets. Julius Randle, New York Knicks. Tobias Harris, Philadelphia 76ers. Zach LaVine, Chicago Bulls, and Malcolm Brogdon, Indiana Pacers. Now, I think, in my opinion, there's got to be another Philadelphia 76ers. Yeah, I know it's Joel Embiid. Some people think he's the MVP. But they're not the number 1 seed without another key player. And if you don't go Tobias Harris, then you better go Ben Simmons. That's the way it works. And yeah, maybe I should feel the same way about the Utah Jazz, and maybe not saying Rudy Gobert. But the thing is, who steps up when Embiid goes down? It's usually Tobias Harris, or to that regard. Actually, Ben Simmons has been a lot better lately. I mean, it's kind of tough in terms of Rudy Gobert, Donovan Mitchell, in the combo of like, I know Jordan Clarkson will be an all-star, but he'll be 6th man of the year. And then you also have Royce O'Neal, Bogdan Bogdanovic on that team too. Then with the Sixers, you got Tobias Harris, Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid, Danny Green, Seth Curry. I'm just not naming players to name players as all-stars, but I'm just telling you like those power lineups and all that stuff, the 2 top teams in the NBA as of right now. So, I think Domantas Sabonis could be a possibility for the Indiana Pacers. Dude, that wouldn't surprise me. Wouldn't surprise me. I did not have LaVine and Randall at the start as All-Stars, but after what's happening now, Knicks in a playoff spot, the Bulls getting a little bit better, yeah, I see why now that's a possibility. So, with the guards, forwards, and centers here. So now moving on from my NBA All-Star segment, Lake Tahoe Outdoor Games. The Lake Tahoe Outdoor Games was a success from a viewpoint and a scenery perspective. From an ice perspective on Saturday, it was a total disaster. The game on Saturday was supposed to be normalized in the afternoon, but the ice beat down by the sun was a total disaster and quote-unquote unsafe to play in. The game on Sunday was also supposed to be played in the afternoon, but it was pushed to Sunday night instead. People in Canada are begging for big-time Canadian games to be played outdoors by a lake next season, and potentially beyond as well here. So let's start with Sunday night's game first. Philadelphia Flyers versus the Boston Bruins. I actually thought the game was going to be on NBC, but it was on NBCSN instead. So the Boston Bruins took down the Philadelphia Flyers 7-3, and the Bruins are 5-0 against the Flyers this season. And you know what's funny about that game, Eddie Olczyk was saying? The typical handshake line, they always do it for outdoor games, I guess, for like good game, all that stuff. The thing is, they do it in like memories and all that stuff for the fun time we have. So the Boston Bruins decided to take a team picture after the game. Yeah, you didn't win the Stanley Cup. That's what you do after you do a handshake line after a final series. But I guess we could say we won the Lake Tahoe game. Remember this thing for the rest of our lives. It was fun to play, and not many people get the obligation to play outdoors. It's a privilege. You know the old saying? You get to go to a high school, junior, senior prom, and other things. It's a privilege, not a right. That's what we say here when it comes to sports regarding. It's a privilege to play in the NHL. It's not a right. So what happened here? So 34 seconds into the game, David Pastrnak scored and it assisted by who else? Brad Marchand and Patrice Bergeron. It ain't a surprise anymore. So then the Philadelphia Flyers scored the next 2 goals and appeared at the 6:41 mark by Joel Farabee, assisted by Sean Couturier and James Van Riemsdyk. And at the 14:48 mark, Sean Couturier, assisted by Kevin Hayes and James Van Riemsdyk. Now the Flyers have some very key pieces on their COVID list. Jakub Voracek, Claude Giroux, Travis Konecny. That's the top line. That's the top line they're missing. So they're not just missing scrubs. Yeah, I know I criticize Giroux every now and then, but there have been some key players on the Flyers that have been missing from time to time. So now, at the 15:27 mark for the Boston Bruins in the first period, Charlie McAvoy, assisted by Brad Marchand and Connor Clifton. So now let's get to the second period goals. Boston Bruins lit the lamp 4 times in that period. 46 seconds in, David Pastrnak again, assisted by Nick Ritchie and Euro Vakinen. Boston Bruins 6:14 mark, Charlie Coyle, assisted by Craig Smith. Boston Bruins 16:47 mark, assisted by John Moore and Connor Clifton. Boston Bruins 17:53 mark, power play goal, Nick Ritchie, assisted by John Moore and Craig Smith. Now what happened in the third period? Philadelphia Flyers 12:45 mark, power play goal, James Van Riemsdyk, assisted by Kevin Hayes and Ivan Provorov. I think on the play, Van Riemsdyk accidentally touched it, but it was good fortune for him. I guess for people that were trying to win some money last night, FanDuel, DraftKings, Sportsbookies, or Daily Fantasy, good for them. But I think he was trying to go backdoor on a play to Sean Couturier on that play. And what else? And speaking of betting, how about Boston Bruins' David Pastrnak at the 17:04 mark in the third period? He scores his hat trick and was assisted by Jack Studnicka. So is Jack Studnicka. So that was scored by the goal for the Boston Bruins. Not the goal, excuse me. So it's Jack Studnicka who scored the... Excuse me, I don't know why I'm saying this wrong. David Pastrnak was the one that recorded a hat trick at the 17:04 mark. It was assisted by Jack Studnicka. That was the one that recorded the assist. My apologies, my fault. I'll say it, I'm not going to lie. Now let me get here to the Philadelphia Flyers. Goalie situation, Carter Hart, 17 saves, pulled in favor of Brian Elliott, who recorded 11 saves for the Philadelphia Flyers. Tuukka Rask, 16 saves for the Boston Bruins. So that's who did what. And now let's move on to the Colorado Avalanche versus the Vegas Golden Knights. So this was the game that had the disaster. So it started in the afternoon Eastern time, but it was a 9-hour delay and eventually ended after dark. So it resumed at 12 a.m. Eastern time, 9 p.m. Pacific time. So Lake Tahoe was like on the border of Nevada and California. First period goals, Colorado Avalanche. Samuel Girard, 2:58 mark, assisted by Nathan MacKinnon and Mikko Rantanen. Second period goals, Vegas Golden Knights, Alec Martinez, 7:37 mark, assisted by Jonathan Marchessault and Alex Pietrangelo. Colorado Avalanche, Nathan MacKinnon, 11:18 mark, assisted by Devon Toews. Third period goals, Colorado Avalanche, Devon Toews, 13:11 mark, assisted by Nathan MacKinnon and Mikko Rantanen. Vegas Golden Knights, Alex Tuch, 14:25 mark, assisted by Zach Whitecloud. Marc-Andre Fleury finished the game with 36 saves for Vegas Golden Knights. Phil Grubauer finished the game with 27 saves for Colorado Avalanche. And here's the thing. McKinnon's one of the best players in the league. Fleury's, we claimed the net in Vegas. We can all understand that over Robin Leonard. Now, Philip Grubauer is going to play like this for Colorado. They might be hoisting the Stanley Cup come July. I usually say June, but it's in a unprecedented year because of the coronavirus, and you got to stay healthy and all, amongst other things. But as long as Philip Grubauer stays sharp, the Colorado Avalanche are going to be fine. Now, let's get into my next interesting segment here. I don't know if Cody Jensen saw my message yesterday. Jack Eichel, and I know these rumors have been swirling up. Jack Eichel to get traded from the Buffalo Sabres. Now, will he? Now, the rumors are starting to swirl once again around about Jack Eichel being traded from the Buffalo Sabres. Now, they've been an utterly chaotic franchise. We call it a poverty franchise. Haven't been relevant in the last decade since the days of Lindy Ruff. Speaking of Lindy Ruff, today marks the 14th year anniversary of I think the greatest hockey brawl of all time between the Ottawa Senators and the Buffalo Sabres. And if you didn't check that brawl out today, go check it out on either YouTube, on Twitter, Instagram, no matter where you want to check it out. Facebook, wherever, Snapchat, I don't give a bleeping rip where you want to check it out. You better check it out. It is great, and I know what the scenarios were, how it led up to that brawl. But it was one of the best brawls. Yeah, I know you want to talk about the NBA, the Malice at the Palace. But that was the best brawl of all time, in my opinion, in the NHL. Yeah, some want to say about the Boston, New York Rangers, the Bruins, and then people going in the stands, but we'll see. Now let me get back on track with Jack Eichel. One of the teams that's been mentioned is the Calgary Flames. Now I see the World Hockey Twitters report all the time. They always tweet out interesting stuff that they truly believe that the Calgary Flames need a shake-up, and I couldn't agree with that more. So here is my mock trade with the Buffalo Sabres and the Calgary Flames. Calgary Flames acquire Jack Eichel, who's on an 8-year, $80 million contract, and he's getting $10 million per season. Who did the Buffalo Sabres acquire? Johnny Gaudreau, $6.75 million. His contract expires after next season. He gets to go back to America. Sam Bennett, $2.75 million, will be a restricted free agent after this season. I guess the Flames don't want to be with him long term. Dylan Dubé, $778,333, will be a restricted free agent after this season. A 2021 first-round pick, 2022 second-round pick, and prospect centerman Ilya Nikolaev. Now here's a mock trade for the New York Rangers. Now that Artemi Panarin might be in potential trouble, now you may have to pull the trigger on Jack Eichel. New York Rangers acquire Jack Eichel. Buffalo Sabres acquire Pavel Buchnevich, a $3.25 million contract, restricted free agent after the season. Mika Zibanejad, $5.350 million, and will become a UFA after next season. That's an unrestricted free agent. Jack Johnson, a $1.150 million contract, and will become a UFA unrestricted free agent after the season. A 2021 first-round pick, a 2021 fifth-round pick, a 2022 first-round pick, and prospect defenseman Zachary Jones. So that's what I think might be your potential trade targets for Jack Eichel. Calgary needs a shakeup. New York may want to make another trade. Now what's going on with the legal systems with Artemi Panarin with Russia? Speaking of the Calgary Flames, what an absolute beatdown that they received on Saturday night against the Edmonton Oilers 7-1. And Edmonton also beat Calgary 2-1 on Friday night, with Calgary getting their butts whooped, and this one is going to be a potential wake-up call for them, but they desperately need a trade to shake things up. The Oilers are becoming a very dangerous hockey team, and they are now in second place in the North Division, and the Montreal Canadiens have cooled off. Edmonton's only 6 points back of the Toronto Maple Leafs for the President's Trophy. The Oilers are led, as always, by Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, and they have basically toyed with that Flames defense. Calgary's in shambles right now, but it isn't too late for them to change things around. The Vancouver Canucks, in my opinion, have been big-time underachievers this season after they were tremendous in the bubble last year and almost made it to the Western Conference Finals. The Ottawa Senators are basically out of it. Well, it was over for them before the regular season even started, for them to be honest. And the Winnipeg Jets are in third place in that division at the moment. Had a huge 4-3 win in overtime last night on the road against Vancouver. So is the Pierre-Luc Dubois, Blake Wheeler, Mark Scheifele line going to be a thing? Oh boy. Winnipeg's also a very good team that's capable of going on the Stanley Cup playoff run too. But now let's get back to the Edmonton Oilers here. Edmonton Oilers first period goal, Alex Chiasson on the power play. 3:29 mark, assisted by Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. Right after that goal was scored, Sam Bennett of the Calgary Flames dropped the gloves with Juraj Kakari of the Edmonton Oilers. These two teams do not like each other at all, and I feel like they utterly despise each other. Edmonton then scores again later in the first period. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, 5:41 mark, assisted by Connor McDavid and Darnell Nurse. Calgary Flames Andrew McNanapie, 7:54 mark power play goal, assisted by Matthew Tkachuk and Elias Lindholm. Edmonton Oilers, Connor McDavid, 2:49 remaining in the first period mark. Power play goal, assisted by Tyson Barrie and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. As I always say, he just toys with opponents no matter how he does it. Second period goals, Edmonton's Connor McDavid. That was his second goal of the game, and he scored twice in this game for the Edmonton Oilers. He scored with 18:54 remaining in the second period mark, unassisted. And he also scored at the 8:12 mark. Oh, and that's his hat trick. And his 8:12 goal was assisted by Chris Russell and Juraj Kakari. Edmonton Oilers, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins on the power play at the 12:38 mark. An underrated third player for the Edmonton Oilers, assisted by Darnell Nurse and James Neal. Third period goals, former Pittsburgh Penguin Josh Archibald for the Edmonton Oilers is actually thriving in a fourth line role for them, and he scored just 36 seconds into the third period. And mark as well here was assisted by, another former Pittsburgh Penguin, Dominic Cahoon, and you also had Leon Draisaitl on the assist. So Jakob Markstrom finished the game with 10 saves for Calgary Flames. He was pulled in the second period in favor of David Rittich, and he stopped 7 shots. Mikko Koskinen finished the game with 43 saves for the Edmonton Oilers. I guess the goaltending is getting a little bit better for them, but we'll see. Use promo code 12OunceSports, all caps, for deposit bonus up to $1,000 from my bookie. We are live on 12 Ounce Sports, and in just about 9 minutes from now, professional lacrosse player Zach Goodrich will be joining the show live to be discussing about the PLL-MLL merger. So now let me get into my next NHL game recap. New Jersey Devils versus the Washington Capitals. So the Washington Capitals took down the New Jersey Devils on Sunday afternoon by a final score of 4-3. Travis Zajac and the New Jersey Devils played in his 1,000th career NHL game. Another huge milestone that was set by This Week in the Washington Capitals Twitter page also congratulated him on that marking milestone in his NHL career. So the New Jersey Devils are a young, pesky, hungry team, but it shows their age, their youth is kind of shown. But Lindy Ruff has these guys playing hard. So let's see. First period goals, Andreas Janssen, power play goal, 9:35 mark, assisted by Kyle Palmieri and Pavel Zacha. Second period goals, New Jersey Devils, Jack Hughes, 3:55 mark, assisted by Andreas Janssen and Kyle Palmieri. Washington Capitals, TJ Oshie, 13:38 mark, power play goal, assisted by John Carlson and Nicholas Backstrom. Third period goals, Washington Capitals. They scored 3 times in the third period. John Carlson, 19:16 mark, assisted by Brendan Dillon and Jakub Vrana. Washington Capitals once again. TJ Oshie at the 11:53 mark. Power play goal assisted by Evgeny Kuznetsov and Lars Eller. And then in the Washington Capitals, Alex Ovechkin, 16:56 mark on the power play goal, his 712th of his career. And it was assisted by TJ Oshie and Nicholas Backstrom. And then New Jersey Devils, just around 11-12 seconds remaining regulation at the 19:48 mark. Nikita Gusev scored for them, the New Jersey Devils, and it was assisted by Damon Severson. It was a 6-on-5 goal, a little bit too little too late. But the Devils showed they play hard at the very end to try and change the culture around there. And then Aaron Dell finished the game with 37 saves for New Jersey Devils. He played well, but they were basically outplayed. It was just a matter of time before the Washington Capitals were going to score those goals. And Craig Anderson finished the game with 23 saves for the Washington Capitals. Now, I will get into my last NHL segment before the guest segment. So the Anaheim Ducks call up Trevor Zegras from the AHL, the San Diego Gulls. So there is no looking back now, and he's going to be probably inserted in the Anaheim Ducks lineup immediately. You do not call up a special talent like this just to have him sitting running on the bench. This is why you called up Zegras. He was dominating AHL play, and here we are. Trevor Zegras is ready to make noise at the National Hockey League level. And I'm telling you right now, Trevor Zegras, the Ducks are right in the thick of the playoff race. The Anaheim Ducks are going to be a fun watch right away because of Trevor Zegras. And I think this is the most prized prospect I want to watch on TV since Austin Matthews was drafted. Yes, I said that correctly. You heard me loud and clear. Austin Matthews of the Toronto Maple Leafs and Trevor Zegras of the Anaheim Ducks are going to be a special talents. Now, Zegras was a first-round pick in the 2019 NHL Draft, and he was the 9th overall selection, and he's only 19 years old. And what stands out about him? What stands out to him is that he skates well, he puck possesses well, he's got a shot-first mentality, and he also passes to teammates. So what are some of his stats here? He scored 4 goals and recorded 5 assists in 8 games in the AHL with the San Diego Gulls. His plus-minus was 4. In 7 games at World Juniors with Team USA, with USA U20 that won the gold medal in Canada. He scored 7 goals and recorded 11 assists, and his plus-minus was 9. Trevor Zegras, as I said, it's going to be must-watch television every single game from the first game that he plays in. I am sure he will be picked up quickly and rapidly in daily fantasy hockey leagues. And I guarantee you, he may be some hot commodities tonight in daily fantasy leagues like DraftKings and FanDuel, and we'll see how he does. And it wouldn't be surprising to see him make a mark right away. Remember when Jake Guentzel, Pittsburgh Penguins, scored 2 goals in his NHL debut, just like Mario Lemieux did? Well, we can make that mark. I'm curious to see how that would work out. I am curious to see how that's going to work out. Look at the elite goal scorers in the league. Austin Matthews, Toronto Maple Leafs. Alex Ovechkin, the Washington Capitals. Patrick Laine, the Columbus Blue Jackets. Sidney Crosby, the Pittsburgh Penguins. And then you got a ton of other things. Other legitimate goal scorers in the NHL. But, so now let me move into my next segment here. So, my special guest today is pro lacrosse player Zach Goodrich. So this will be the 9th consecutive guest that I will be having on this show. And the 5th out of the... This will be the 5th guest out of the 12-ounce Sports.com radio network. Zach Goodrich was a superstar lacrosse player at Towson University, and he used to play for the Boston Cannons in the Major League Lacrosse. He won the 2020 Major League Lacrosse Championship with them in a COVID-19 shortened season. Because of the merger of the PLL Premier Lacrosse League and the MLL Major League Lacrosse, the Cannons will be rebranded from the Boston Cannons to the Cannons Lacrosse Club roster. The roster will be selected through the 2021 expansion draft. Boston was a part of the MLL since the 2001 season, and it won't be known as that anymore also. And the Boston Cannons also won another championship in 2011 and this past season as well here. And the thing he told me was he's going to be in that expansion draft. I just wanted to make sure with him that correctly. I said it, want to say it to you guys on air before he calls me on this show. And because I was doing some research about, there's some reason why I couldn't pull up the Boston Cannons website. The only thing that came up was like a Boston Cannons team story for winning the championship. And I saw rings. I'm like, oh, I forgot they won the MLL championship. So another thing about Zach is that Zach Goodrich is also a high school lacrosse coach in Newport, Rhode Island at the United States Naval Academy Preparatory School. Also, some of the awards. He's calling me now. Good morning.
This is Zach.
Hey, good morning, Zach. I was just reading some facts about you. How you doing today, buddy?
Good. How are you?
I'm wonderful. So I was just I was about to read a part about you won the Maverick Defensive Player of the Year last year. But I wanted to ask you this first. How does the PLL and the MLL merger going to affect you with the expansion draft? Do you expect to be back with the Cannons, or are you going to be a part of another team?
Yeah, I think the whole merger between the MLL and PLL is great for lacrosse. It makes it a little bit more in the spotlight now, and having one league kind of working together makes it awesome for the game and keeping growing the game across the country. And I'm excited for the opportunity to play in the PLL. I think I'm not sure how the entry draft's going to go, and we'll just have to wait until the end of March. But I'm definitely excited for this summer.
Do you know when in the end of March it will be, and will it be on televised? I mean, is there any TV contracts? Is it on NBCSN at all, or do you know anything about those TV contracts?
Yeah, I believe it's like March 27th, sometime around then. I have to double check on that, but I believe it is like the 27th. And I believe they do a lot of their stuff streaming on YouTube. But I know from my rookie year with the first draft, I believe they did do it on NBC Sports Network. So I know they have a deal with them and all that kind of stuff, but looking forward to the opportunity on both ends.
Yeah, I mean, now you told me about how you're a head coach, and I was surprised about that. I didn't know if you just like if the PLL MLL was your full-time job until you told me you're a head coach at the Naval Preparatory School. So how did they find you? That's what I'm curious to know, how they found you, or did you find them?
So when there was the turnover back, I believe in 2019, the Naval Academy got a new coaching staff with Coach Amplo from Marquette. They were looking for the coach at Naps, moved forward and went to a new school, and they were looking for a new coach. And actually, my defensive coordinator from college, Coach Conchi, brought the job to my attention. Kind of, we went about it, had met with Coach Amplo, and then some people at Naps, and then kind of went from there.
I find that interesting because I know you probably had no thoughts of going to Navy or with the Navy, and I'm surprised just a little surprised that they didn't go with like coaches who've done Navy experience. I mean, what does that say that they hired a guy like you who didn't do any of that Navy stuff?
Yeah, my brother actually went to Naps. My brother played for the Naval Academy, played lacrosse, long stick. He graduated in 2017. So I've kind of been a part of it a little bit, talked to him in my recruiting process a little bit, and kind of being from Maryland and being only 15 minutes away from the Naval Academy, a big Navy fan growing up and that kind of stuff. So there's definitely a lot of things that I've learned, especially with the military aspect of it and how much they have to time manage from academics to athletics in the military side of it, and it kind of varies every day, but it's been an awesome experience so far, and it's been great.
So speaking of the Navy, it just popped in my mind that your shortened season last year was in Annapolis, Maryland, playing at the Naval Academy. You won a Major League Lacrosse title. So did you get your championship ring yet? How's it feel? What does it look like? And how was it playing in the shortened season there?
Yeah, we just got our rings last week, so they're very nice. Our owner, Rob Hale, hooked us up with those rings, and it was awesome. It was awesome to be able to play lacrosse, definitely during tough times in the country with the pandemic going on, and just getting the opportunity to get back on the field with a lot of uncertainty throughout the country. It was just good to lace it back up and compete, and thank goodness we were victorious at the end, and we were able to bring home that last MLL championship.
So how does it feel? Now I know in college at Towson you were a 3-year captain, which was obviously the first time in history. So I wanted to ask you, how does it feel to play against guys like Alex Woodall and Grant Maloof and whoever else went to Towson University, play against them in the MLL? Does it feel strange to you, or is it like, I want to kick your tail?
It's definitely different, especially playing 4 years with them and kind of getting after it with them on the same side, but it's definitely awesome just being able to share the field with them at the highest level and get the opportunity to compete against them, going against Brendan Sunday, who played a little bit of midfield our rookie year, and just being able to compete against him other than just in practice and playing against Woodall and that kind of stuff. It's an awesome experience, but there's definitely a little bit more to it, a little more competitive edge when you get those games and you want to prove that you want to beat them.
So here's what I find interesting, and this just popped in my mind. So I covered Towson's women lacrosse when it was my senior year for the Tower Light, and I watched your games, and I was trying to figure out why the face-offs were so different than the men's. And I watched your playoff game, the only Towson men's lacrosse game I went to in 2019 against Maryland, great game. And I'm sitting there like, why is the face-off so different? Why could like Alex Woodall could just like go take a face-off, just go storm in that score, go in women's lacrosse, you can't do that. What's the rules behind that?
I think there's definitely different rules between the men's and women's side. They have great aspects to their game, and we have different aspects to ours. And now that the game keeps changing, the rules have changed again for the face-off, and I think that's always going to be a battle. It's just trying to figure out the face-off X and trying to make it more of a 50-50 draw and that kind of stuff. So it's going to vary, and I don't know what's the science behind the two different face-offs, but it's an ever-changing position, that's for sure.
Well, yeah, those are some good insights for sure that I could that you told me. But what is the one thing? Have you like gotten like cross-checked before, or like, I mean, does it get rough out there?
Yeah, you definitely take some checks that sting a little bit more than others. Definitely went through a couple of injuries in my career, but it's all about the love for the game and just competing alongside the guys on your team, your teammates, your brothers, and all that kind of stuff. And it's an awesome experience whether you're playing at college level, high school level, little league, and pro. You're playing the game you love and you're competing with the guys next to you.
Who would you say was your biggest supporters throughout the entire process? You getting from starting young and then to like get into the big leagues.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, my family, my dad definitely, and my grandmother, my dad probably came to 99% of my games throughout my college career and on to now in the professional ranks. And then my grandmother coming out when we have some of those cold games, it's tough for her to get out there, but it's been a good journey, and definitely looking forward to see where the future holds with the two leagues joining, and definitely excited.
So I know lacrosse has some substitutions thing. Now I know in hockey it's just line changes. How would you feel if like lacrosse was like hockey line changes and all that stuff?
Yeah, I think it would definitely add a different aspect to the game and kind of make it a little more chaotic. But I know the game's always changing. They're trying to make it more fast-paced, a little more offensive-oriented. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's something later down the road where we see something along the lines, maybe not the same exact thing, but along the lines like that. But there's definitely a lot of subbing and all that kind of stuff. So it's good.
Now I didn't know that there was shot clock until I started watching lacrosse, and there's do you think the shot clock's necessary?
I do. I think it definitely speeds up the game and makes it a lot more faster. When I was a freshman, we didn't have a shot clock, and there would be teams we held the ball more, and we would have 2 to 3 minute possessions. Now you're limited to in the college ranks to 80 seconds with a 20-second clearing clock, and then also now with the pro game being, I think the PLL does a 55-second shot clock and the MLL did a 60. So it definitely speeds up the game, keeps the game fast-paced, and I think keeps the fans a little more engaged because it's always a constant rolling around.
So are there any memorable goals that you had either in major leagues or in high school or in college or at all, or not really?
Yeah, there's definitely some, especially being a defensive midfielder. You gotta be excited about the goals that you get and just being able to contribute on that side of the ball. Had a goal in the quarterfinals my freshman year, which was pretty cool, at Ohio State against Loyola, and then just throughout the years, just being able to help on the offensive end as much as I can and that kind of stuff.
Now, I like watching lacrosse every now and then because it reminds me of the sport of hockey. Now, I don't know if you watch Sports Center at all, really, but I think Sidney Kress, Pittsburgh Penguins, Andrei Svechnikov, Carolina Hurricanes, or even Alexander Ovechkin, Washington Capitals, your favorite team, might even try some lacrosse-style goals. What do you think of hockey players trying to do some lacrosse-style goals? Do you think it's cool to you, or do you think they're just being a bunch of copycats?
No, it's definitely you could see that in a lot of games where you could see different styles in the way the game is played. You can kind of see the crossover in other sports, and I think it's good. It's a lot of fun to watch, and I think it makes the game more exciting.
So, did you play any other sports in high school or at all, or not really?
I did. I played football and I played basketball.
So, you chose lacrosse for what reason specifically? Why over those sports?
Lacrosse, it definitely had the brighter future. I was a little smaller in high school. I didn't get it I was about 5'8", 5'9", going into my junior year, so that kind of made it tough for recruiting purposes in other sports. And then I hit a growth spurt. Now I'm 6'2", so it definitely helped in that avenue. But basketball is more to just kind of stay in shape, and the way basketball is, it translates a lot into the lacrosse game, and it was just a way to keep in shape for that spring season. And then football was actually one of my favorite sports growing up. I played from age 6, and then kind of my dad's been the defensive coordinator at our high school for 15 years now. So football definitely runs deep in our family.
So let me ask you 2 final questions. My first one is, you keep saying the word defensive coordinator to me. As far as I'm concerned, I could recall you know much better than I do. But I keep hearing the term defense coordinator, and I keep thinking football. There's no Is there such thing, too? I know there's a head coach in the head lacrosse. Is there also such thing as an offensive coordinator in lacrosse, too? I mean, what's the roles of offense coordinator and defense coordinator if there's any in lacrosse?
Yeah, so they're just like football. We have a head coach, and then you have an offensive coordinator and a defense coordinator because there's different aspects on either side of the ball, and you got to make sure that you have a leader on your side to put you in the right spots and game plan each week. So, yes, each team has a head coach, offensive coordinator, and a defense coordinator.
So it's like the coaches don't wear headsets, if I'm correct. Am I right or am I wrong?
No, you're correct. But the game's ever changing. Now there's film on the sidelines, so we're able to watch stuff during the game. But yes, they do not wear headsets. We don't have everybody up in the press box.
So I don't know if you know this meme, but do you remember when the Green Bay Packers played the Carolina Panthers and Aaron Rodgers had his tablet and he just slammed it on the ground? Have you ever done such a thing like that before?
No. I think Aaron Rodgers has a little more money in his pocket in case that thing breaks. I don't think I would be able to break something like that. But no, we try to keep it cool and calm and collected while we're out there and make sure that we're setting a good example for the people that are watching.
So my last question to you is, I remember, I had an orientation one time because I was transferring from one college to Towson University, and I was with my dad. It was a summer in July on the Towson campus, and right by the dining hall or something, and the University Union, and there on those lacrosse fields, not by the stadium. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
So
by the parking garage.
So there was lacrosse camps going on. Could you explain to me why the lacrosse camps in Maryland are such a big deal to these people? Why it's such a hotbed? That's my last question.
Yeah, so lacrosse is definitely a hotbed in Maryland, and then you see other states like New York are probably the two biggest lacrosse states, kind of with recruiting, and then also just the game of lacrosse in the younger ranks. But with lacrosse growing across the country, everyone's looking to get that camp in and getting the chance to get recruited, or just trying to develop their skills. So at the end of the day, the Towson puts together some good camps, and a lot of people come out to compete in those. And it's growing across the country, but Maryland and New York are probably the two biggest, and I think that's why you see such a big camp when Towson puts one on.
All right, thank you for joining the show today, Zach. I truly appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, that was another different perspective on my show today with different sports. As always, I always like giving different perspectives on things, have different people, different voices, different opinions, as I always say. It's always good to hear from different sides, not just one side all the time from all sports. You're not going to go anywhere. It's always good to have those different voiced opinions. Ladies and gentlemen, we are out of time here. Thanks for tuning in Glenn's Dynamic Sports Corner. I hope you all enjoy the rest of your day and your week as well. I will be back on the air at the same time on Thursday. More NBA, NHL game recaps, NFL offseason updates. I'll have another guest, former FCS tight end from Lehigh University, Michael Bauer, will be joining me as my special guest. And use promo code 12OunceSports. All caps, positive bonus up to $1,000 for my bookie.